And we're live. Good, grand. All right, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Ben Campbell. I've been a men's coach for the past 4 or 5 years. I specialize in social matters, dating. I do a little bit of productivity stuff. The format of this show that is completely unscripted and off the cuff, and I answer questions from my online Discord coaching community. If you want to join, if you want to ask a question or call into the show, you can go to discord.gg/self-improvement. There's a link in the description of this live stream right now. And if you go there, there's a little section called Off the Cuff. You can submit your questions in for us to answer during the show. I'm joined by a special guest, which is the wonderful Anton Toya. Anton has he's been one of my oldest clients at this point that's still going. I think we've been working together for 4 years now, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say 4 years as well. Perfect.
Anton joined early on when I was working for a different company, and now that I've started my own, he came over with me. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm Anton. I've been working with Ben together for the past 4 years now, and yeah, it's been going really great. I'm not at the level I want to be yet, but every day is a growing step along the way. So let me first tell a bit about my older self, like before 24. I'm now 28, and yeah, at the beginning, I was socially quite awkward. I wasn't dating the people I wanted to date because the people, if I was on a date, I was super friendly and I almost put myself into a friend zone. And also, I was dating girls I was not attracted to. So it was like just a weird vibe and it felt so inauthentic for me. So yeah, that was like not the way I wanted to be. So I was looking for some help. And then I bumped into the community that Ben was working in. And the first 2 years, I was just basically watching a lot of the articles they wrote down and how they were coaching people, watching some of the coaching calls, but I wasn't really active in the server itself. I mean, like actively doing the exercises and stuff. But then after 2 years, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get more involved and hop into the coaching calls. And shortly after, I then signed up for a boot camp, and then was it like when things really started to take place in my I would say social life and dating scene for me.
The two of us met in Varna.
So yeah, back with another client in the days. That was for me like I was almost taking like drugs because you pushed me really hard in those 2 days, and you basically showed me a new world, and that was hard to deal with because I knew now I had to live up to like a whole new standard. And but the thing was like every week, even after the bootcamp, was always on a weekly coaching call. So I basically had to tune in and tell how things were going, which is very good because if it wasn't have been for the coaching calls, I think I would have chickened out so many times and basically fallen to my old habits.
Yes, people come and they do the training and they're like, because it takes you from A to B very quickly, and you're suddenly in this place where you're being very sociable and you're meeting lots of people and you're getting loads of numbers. And people have that common pitfall that people fall into with any kind of success, where they're like, oh, this is the end now, and then so they stop working on it and they quickly decline. So one of the things that we do if you decide to take a training course or something, especially one of the live training courses, we do a lot of follow-up afterwards to make sure you're staying on. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, you buy the thing and then we abandon you. No, I want to make sure that you're staying on course and actually, getting the things that you want. Otherwise, what's even my role as a coach? So what would you say, Anton, is the difference, if you could summarize it, between where you were and where you are in terms of your lifestyle and your ability to get the things that you want?
Massive difference. What I'm basically it's basically one major thing that is changed is me living authentically my life that I want to do right now, instead of like, for example, it's sometimes in the small things as well. Like basically at my work, I used to walk in the hallway, see a colleague and just look down or like do like an awkward nod and just walk on. while actually myself, I wanted to say hello and like do a conversation with them. And these days, like I'm just doing those things, you know, like if I see a cute girl, I approach her. If I see a colleague, then I'm talking to them. And my whole life changed because of this. Because if I come at work now, like I'm so loved by all my colleagues just because of those, just because of I dare to live who I actually am instead of shying away from those challenges.
So you feel like even in minor interactions with other people, people can sense that you are now behaving in accordance with who you want to be, and so they respect you more.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the major difference for me. And then yeah, so basically after the first coaching call, no, after the first boot camp I did, I think there was like 1 year in between, or maybe like 10 months. And then I joined you for like the week immersion in Sofia, which was like for 1 week. And yeah, basically we went over, like in the mornings, we studied some topics on social context. And then in the evening, we did like activities, pushing our comfort zone, doing social freedom, learning how to network and stuff. And in that week, I don't know, like that was one of the most insane weeks of my life because
that was the week I think that we went from being like a more of a working relationship to more of a friendship as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, even though it was like we were becoming good friends, there were certain times that I didn't like you at all in that week. Well, it's not
because I was pushing you.
Well, my ego didn't like you, you know. Like
I mean, but
remember,
you came and you're like, oh no, I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and you experienced Sophia and like all of the people going about, and you're like, oh, I can just talk to people, and then your problem at the end of the week is like, I have too many dates, I can't arrange this properly. Like you came and you're like, I don't know, you know, maybe Belgium, it's not so this, it's not so that. And it's like, it's the same everywhere. You just go out and talk to people. And then at the end of that week, you're like, well, what do I say to this girl? And then, but I have 3 people I could meet on site, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how do I schedule all of this? I'm leaving in 2 days and I have 3 people to see.
Yeah, that was so funny, you know. And also at the beginning of the week, I basically shared my fears to you. And there were times in the week I wished I didn't share them with you because you made me do some horrible things. Like I said that I basically didn't like to dance. And so what Ben did was he made me go up to people and say, hey, listen, I'm a professional dancer and I'm going to perform like for an audience very soon. And I want you to rate me out of 1 to 10. You filmed it. So, and
yeah,
I
still
hope
have
those
the video.
images.
You were a good dancer though. You were doing cartwheels and stuff. It was great.
That's not considered a good dancer though, but I appreciate the compliment.
For anybody that's not familiar, which is going to be most people watching this, my coaching methodology for a lot of things. So especially like my speciality is social matters, and the vast majority of blocks that people have towards the things that they want in their social life is just fear. It's the fear of doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing or not knowing what to say, or the fear of rejection, the fear of being seen, the fear of not being seen. Like there's so many social barriers that we have inside our own head. And for the most part, they're all completely bullshit. Like they're figments of our imagination. They're something your ego has made up to try and protect you. And so one of the things that I do, and I do this in a safe and structured way, but I make people face their fears by doing the thing that they're afraid of. So if you're afraid of saying the wrong thing, I'm going to make you go and say something very embarrassing to a bunch of people. If you're afraid of doing the wrong thing, or you know, Anton's like, I can't dance. I'm like, well, you're going to fucking dance then. And he's walking up to people and taking it I mean, Anton's quite experienced, so I pushed him a bit harder, but taking it a step further and yeah, as he was saying, I'm a professional dancer. So suddenly the bar is a lot higher and he's doing these like stupid dance moves and people are having to think like, this guy's a professional fucking dancer or what? And so the judgment is there. But what you realize at the end of all this, and I'm sure you'll agree, Anton, is that none of it fucking matters. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about you. I did something in last time I was in New York, or a few years ago, where I walked up to this beautiful, sweet old couple, like just they must have been in their 90s. This was pre-COVID, mind you, but very friendly. Also, even we did some of these experiments during COVID and they went completely fine. Most people don't care. Anyway, It's a really sweet old couple. And I walked up and I was asking for directions and talking to them, and my finger goes up my nose. And I have a little taste and wipe it on my shirt, and I go to shake their hand at the end. Not only did they both shake my hand, as I'm walking away, I hear her say to him, "I liked that young man." So people are all of the things that we think are going to be problems in social situations, they never are. Even if it's to the extreme. Mike, the guy I used to work with, said this all the time. It's like, even if you did one of the worst things possible and shit yourself, right? You shit your pants in public. If you go up to people and say, "Hey, I shit my pants," a lot of them are going to be like, "Oh," but even more are going to be going, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like, people are friendly and caring and want to connect with each other. People are very friendly, open, and amiable. And once you push back past the bullshit fears that we all have, you start to realize that, and then you can start to take advantage of these situations. Not in like a Machiavellian way, but in a I can do whatever the fuck I want and it's going to be okay way.
Yeah, I fully agree on those points. But the thing is, before the time I went to you, I knew this in theory. I know what you were saying was correct, but it's only until somebody actually almost physically pushes you to do those things that you can see it dissolve, and it's one of the most beautiful things ever. Like, if the mental barrier in your head goes away, that seemed impossible to break through.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like the first time I did an approach, I must have, like, in my head, chickened out 100 times, if even more. And it's only when you actually do it and you put in some repetitions that you realize, wow, it's so easy. Why was I afraid of this? But overcoming this step is what I've done with you so many times, and it made my life.
Yeah, that's an important point.
Drastically.
I'm very glad to hear that. That's an important point as well. It's like, and I was speaking to somebody in the Discord server about this maybe last week. I can't remember who, but the more that you give in to the fear is like, if you say, like, let's take the dating example. You see a pretty girl, you want to go and talk to her. You have a fear response and you avoid the action because of the fear response. What you're doing is reinforcing to yourself that fear response is valid. So you reinforce the belief that what you're doing would be wrong by not doing it. Whereas if you just do the thing, it completely dispels it, and it takes a while to sort of reprogram yourself. But after a while, like, you start off with taking action, and your ego is like, "No, don't do this, don't do that, you're gonna die, like, bad things are gonna happen, people won't like you." And then the more that you do it, it gets to the point where you're basically saying, "Fuck you, I'm in charge," right? You're taking that little voice in your head, it just wants to protect you, but it's wrong, and you're saying, "Fuck you, I'm in charge." And you take the action regardless, you realize that everything's fine, and you prove to it that nothing bad is going to happen. And once you start to do that, it begins to work for you, because all it wants to do is maintain the status quo. It wants to keep you alive. And if you do things outside of your comfort zone, if you do things that are scary and unknown, it thinks, "This guy might die," right? And so if you just push past that barrier a little bit, eventually it starts to work for you. And it starts to go, "Yeah, you're the man. Go and talk to that person. Yeah, those people could be your friend. They'd really like you. Yeah, you should go to the party on your own, and just go say hi to people. Everything will work fine because you've got this, because you've proven to it that you've got this." And so once it understands, "Oh, I'm not going to die," things start to work out. And this is a process that you have to maintain over time. Like that you end up, I think this is paraphrasing Joe Rogan in some way, but it's like, if you have your inner bitch, if you just do the things that it's telling you not to do, eventually it ends up in the corner in a little cage, and it's still there. The voice is still there going, "No, don't do that," but it's so much quieter, and you can just go, "Shut up," and spray it with water, you know. Yeah.
You say, like, you feel like you're almost gonna die when you do the thing. And it actually feels like this. Like, the ego is so good in keeping how you have been your whole life.
Yeah.
But once you start to break down that wall, it's like almost you can live a different life. That's what I experienced when I left Sofia. I was like, wow. And I was talking to you after Sofia as well, and you said to me, if you know how amazing life can be, it should be illegal to waste your time being your old self. And it is. And even though to this day I sometimes still fall back in my old habits, but I'm so good now at spotting the what's it called? The way that things
The
go wrong, when it
excuses
goes
and
wrong.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, exactly. Because I've faced them so many times,
Yeah, you start
and
to
so I can bring
understand
them
after a
down
while that it's
easier.
like, oh, this, you know, even once you've done the action, you have the reference experience that proves to you that the thing is okay. And so that little voice in your head is still there, but you're like, no, you're lying. You understand that it's lying to you. And so, like, the fear is still there. You're still scared, but you can take action anyway. And then over time, that fear diminishes. And some people are like, I offer both text. So when people join the server, if they sign up for the membership tier or the lurker tier, which is just like read only, there's posts in there, and you basically I've put all of my work into posts. You can read it and you can apply it in your own life like that if you want to. It's very cheap. And for some people that'll work. And I think there is an element, like people talk about people that just like reading and not taking action and all this sort of stuff. I think there is a period of time, especially when you first get into self-improvement, that's okay to just be soaking in information, because when you actually start to apply, it's like a rubber band is being pulled back and it propels you forward faster because all the information is there when you're finally ready to take action. But for some people, they can just read the stuff and go out and do it and overcome their own fear, and that's fine. But the reason we have the like boot camps in place is for the people that can't do it on their own. And so within a safe environment, we can take you from A to B in 2 days, you know, and take you from the, like, how many clients have we taken from the point where they're just like, oh, you know, they have limiting beliefs, so I can't do this, I can't do that, people won't like me, and it wouldn't work for me for XYZ reason. Like, we've had highly socially awkward people and quote unquote ugly people and people that have very negative opinions of themselves and believe that this could never work for them, and it always works. It always works because it's the fundamental basis of human connection. Just go and fucking talk to people. And obviously there's more to it than that, but we go through it in these programs. Oh, what were you talking about just before this? Because I had another point to make about
I
the
was
ego
talking
and fear and
about
stuff.
how I can spot the excuses in my head way easier these days because I've been through them so many times.
Yeah. Oh no, it was before that. You were saying, like, yeah. One of the things that I like to think about is you have so much fucking potential, right? And you're never gonna get to the extreme of all of it. It's not possible. Like, it's a very rare person that achieves their infinite potential, right? Because we have infinite potential. But your chances of even being here right now, it's like, not only did the universe need to coalesce in the way that it did and form exactly as it did to be, and we, you know, this little fucking bundle of dust that's floating through space has the perfect conditions within a degree to harbor life. But not only that, it's like, out of the billions of fucking sperm in your dad's ballsack, you happened to be the one that got through. And not just that, but his parents and his parents and his parents, all the way back. Like, the chances of you even existing to think like, oh, life could be better, are so infinitesimally small that it's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, you could play the lottery and win every single day for the rest of your life, and it would still be less statistically likely than you even existing right now. And so to think like, oh, and like, you know, life is just this bizarre, beautiful, infinite possible, like, it's all just choices and consequences. You can do whatever you want, right? You have to deal with the consequences of that. But a lot of the things that people want to do, they imagine the consequences being so much worse than they actually are, and they create fake resistance. And so once you see past the facade and you see past the illusion that your own fucking mind is creating for you, and you realize that, oh, I can do most of the things that I want to do and nothing bad is actually going to happen, it's just trying to maintain the status quo. Once you've seen that, not taking advantage of it and not actually just harboring a tiny piece of your potential is criminal. It's fucking criminal. Like, how long have you got here? You're just wasting time. You're wasting potential. You owe it not only to yourself but to other people. Like, how different could you make other people's lives just by taking a little bit of initiative, you know, and leading by example? Like, people complain all the time. They're like, oh, the world's a terrible place. Make it better. Then we're all people. We're all doing this together. Don't just complain that things are bad. Fucking do something. Find a problem, fix it. Like, fix your own shit first, you know? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's full of complainers these days.
I mean,
When I talk to them,
it's very easy to be a victim. It's very easy to say like, oh, life is doing this to me. But and to a certain extent, you can't control the things that happen to you. Like, a lot of things happen that they're out with your control. But it's still your responsibility. Like, you should do something to propel yourself forward rather than just going, oh, woe is me. But it's so much easier. And there is a sense of like satisfaction and fulfillment that we get from complaining and from saying like, that, life is cruel to me. But by doing that, not only are you giving yourself the allowance to not do anything about it, so you're letting yourself off the hook, you're choosing to do the easy thing, but there is a sense of enjoyment in feeling bad. It becomes like a part of your identity. So if you can victimize yourself in some way, even if you are a victim, if you can further victimize yourself rather than taking responsibility, there's a sense of sick enjoyment that people get from that. We're getting very off course, but I don't know. I think it's important.
And the thing is also, people, they complain to each other and they feel each other in their complainment. They feel that energy to each other, and it's almost becoming the new normal for some people, and then it's super dangerous. Like I refuse to participate in complaining.
The people that you surround yourself with, it's another thing. It's like a lot of people come to me because obviously I'm a social coach, so a lot of people come to me because they're young men and they want to get dates, they want dating advice. And that's great. That's all well and good. Like, it's very important to get your physical and emotional needs met. If you need to get dates, I'll help you get dates. I guarantee it. Like, I've never had anybody not be able to get dates. But a lot of them ignore, like, they conflate. I think because intimacy and connection and sexuality are such an important thing for just like personal fulfillment. A lot of young men, especially because it's our responsibility to go out and find that, if they're not capable of doing that, it can feel as a young man that you're just not worth anything. And so a lot of guys, even though they have a lot of work to do in other areas, they conflate sexuality and they conflate just like getting dates with all of their problems. They think like that's the only thing that they need to fix, and they skip over a lot of stuff. And sometimes it takes actually getting to the point where you're getting dates and you're like, oh, I mean, sometimes that is the first thing you need to fix, and then you can work on other areas of your life, and that's fine. It's like the Maslow's hierarchy thing. You gotta sort the bottom pillar first. But one of the most important things that I tell people is the process, whether you're trying to make dates or to make friends, it's exactly the same. And it is so important to network and find good people and make friends, right? Because the people that you surround yourself with are the people that you become. We've all heard that. It's absolutely true. If you can find people that are ambitious and working on things, and there's the mutual connections thing where it's you're no more than 5 or 6 mutual connections from anyone in the world. Like, go find those fucking people. Like, I know people that know Tony Robbins and Eamon Ghazi and like a bunch of high level fucking people in this industry. The only reason I'm not cashing in those chips right now is because I want to, gain a little bit more traction. I don't want to be that guy that's like leeching off of other people. But those connections are there if you want to take advantage of them. And all it takes is just knowing people, right? Just go out and know people, right? And then not only do you end up with this network that no matter what you need in life, you're never more than a few steps away from that once you start to harness this ability. You can also bring a good network of friends around you that supports you and wants you to be happy and has the energetic like resources to propel you to where you need to be. If you're just surrounded by shitty fucking people and you try to better yourself, what happens is that crabs in the bucket mentality where they see you climbing out and they pull you fucking back down with them. This is part of the reason I had to leave the UK. It's like so many people are trapped in this woe is me victim mindset where they see somebody else doing better than them and they don't think good for them, how can I emulate it? They think fuck that guy and they get jealous and they want to drag you down with them. Oh, they're better than us now, are they? Are you too fancy for it? Like, fuck off, man. Come on, work on your shit. Yeah,
that's something I wanted to pick in as well on this chat we're having. Was I came here with my first reasons to improve my dating life, but the concepts you told me a bit earlier, like networking, making so good friendships, living genuinely by authenticity, creating and having an abundance mentality, being honest towards everyone and everything, like those things are like, I didn't expect those things that they would take place as well, but I made those concepts myself, and that's why I think my life is so much more better. Like if it was only for getting dates and like for example the pickup community, what they are all about in so many wrong ways, like I'm not gonna go about it, and I think I'm not gonna let you rent for an hour on the pickup.
I do have a video coming out about that soon. It's gonna be like 20 minutes long. It'll be next week.
Sweet, I'm looking forward for that. So yeah, it's that was the things that that's for me so cool. Like, I think the reason my life the last 2 years has been so amazing is by living up to all these concepts. That's
Yeah.
it's so much fun, and also like when I'm like, there's like sometimes a beautiful contrast in my head when I'm dating these beautiful girls who I thought I never would have the chance because they were quote unquote out of my league, you know, but that was like a wrong mindset back in the days. But it's so fun to see it in front of you, and like you're having a great time, and then things get physical, and it's so cool to see that that it actually can happen. That it all was a lie back in the day, and you just have to change your mentality and principles. It's
Yeah,
one of the best things in
the
my
things
life.
that you get and the things that you experience in your life are a direct reflection of your internal state. And they align with the things that you believe about yourself and the things that you feel that you deserve. This is why, and this is one of the points I'm making in that video that's coming out next week. It's the reason why pickup and like the red pill ideologies and stuff are so fucking insidious is because they feed on that mentality. They go, okay, well, I'm not good enough, but I can pretend to be, right? And so all that does is reinforce the idea that you're not in that place. And once you change your perspective, you get different results. Once you believe that you don't need any of that bullshit and that you can just go out and connect authentically with people and trust that no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter where you are in life, there are people that are going to vibe with you and there are people that are going to connect with you. Once you realize that, you've unlocked that fucking power, and it starts to happen, and everybody has the same experience. It's your own negative fucking bullshit is the thing that's stopping you from getting. It's like all those black pill guys as well. It's like, ironically, a lot of the people that you see in the black pill community are reasonably attractive people. They just believe that they're not. And because they believe that they're not, that's the result that they get, because they put people away with their toxic fucking energy, right? They're putting that out into the world and people are going, ew. You know, and they're thinking, oh, they're saying, ew, because I'm worth nothing. No, you're worth nothing because you think you're worth nothing. And it angers me because it's like you see all these people, and I don't like the red pill guys and the pickup guys and all these people that are like angry at women and angry at life, and I don't see monsters. I don't see bad people. I see hurt, lonely individuals that deserve better, but they've just never had the experience, and they've never been given the secrets, quote unquote. Even though it's all just like all of the things that I teach to some people are they're common, like they're things that I feel everybody should know, but most of us have just lost it somewhere along the way, and society has created itself in a way where people are becoming like isolated and fucked up, and it's bad. I want to fix it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it always makes sense when you explain something, because it's just how it's supposed to be. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
along the way, some people get
yeah.
lost. And
Yeah, especially when it comes to the social stuff. Like the answers I give to things, people are always like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." Yeah, it does, because it's the truth. It's the way. It's the light. Yeah, you don't need all of the bullshit. But the reason that pickup and the red pill and all these things have become the dominant ideology is because the mindset that like most people are in, like a trapped, fearful, insecure mindset. The majority of people are living in fear and bullshit and the negative self-perception, and they have a twisted, fucked up worldview, even in a little way. And so because of that, the advice that they turn to and the ideology that becomes the most prevalent one is the one that caters to that. It tells you don't need to actually work on yourself and improve all this. Yes, it's true, you're not good enough, but you can act like you are, and you can. It's the mentality. It's like, I don't deserve this, so I have to trick people into giving it to me. And you see this with the rise in like dark psychology videos, and use these dark psychology tips. It's like people don't feel like they're worth anything anymore. People don't feel like they deserve anything, but they have needs. They have things that they need. And so if you have that combination, you turn off your fucking morals and you go, okay, well, I'm going to go down the path of manipulation. That's how it happens, Yeah. It's fucked up.
yeah, like one of the basic things when I first got into the community, I had so much trouble with being honest to people. Like even about stupid small things. Like for example, in my work, they often ask me to do help with a bus. It's like to guide the children to their homes, and but basically, even though I got sick on the bus, like I'm not good with roads and stuff, and I still kept doing it because I think it would have been impolite for me to say, no, I don't actually want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
and I have so many examples of this honesty thing. And the more and more I implement it, saying like no when I want to say no, it feels so good because you're actually living how it's supposed to be, and not.
And it's not like there are extreme negative consequences to that. Like people are just like, oh, okay. You know?
Yeah, exactly. The response they gave me was so easy, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
And I was having like this whole thing up in my head, like, oh my god, they're not gonna like me anymore. Or,
yeah, you're just like, no, I'm not going to do that, and here's why. And people are like, oh yeah, okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like even the nose picking example I gave. That's one of the exercises that we do, and it's like 90% of people shake your hand, even if you've just been picking your nose, and it's because it's easier for them to internalize that and just be like, okay, I'm going to go wash my hands now, than it is for them to upset you. Like you're the one that's picking your fucking nose, and they're still like, oh, I don't want to upset this person. I don't want to decline the handshake because that would be rude, you know.
Yeah, it's such a fun exercise, especially the moment you're picking your nose. It's so the energy in your body is like it's weird, man.
All of this is very freeing. It's that you get to the precipice of fear where you're like stuck in this anxious, what the fuck's gonna happen mentality, and then you just go a little bit further, and it all dissipates, and you're just floating on this cloud of freedom, and you're like, oh, I can do whatever I want. Life is my oyster. This is amazing. Yes, I can go say hi to that girl. Yes, I can go make friends with that person. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I wish everyone would experience this. Like how easy life can be if you just let it. If you just ignore the negative voices or the ego in your head.
I wouldn't use the word
beautiful.
easy. I'd use the word what's a better word? Because it's not easy. So because you still have to push past the bullshit, but it becomes free. You know, it's not easy to because you still have the emotional barrier, but you realize to actually get all of the things that you want, it's not easy, but it's not nearly as hard as you think it is. Right? It's not, people are like, oh, it's impossible for me to do this. It's actually, it only takes like 3% more effort. That effort is very scary, but once you do it, everything just starts coming to you. Yeah. All right. I think it's time to get some questions on the go. We've got some questions.
Yeah, I had some questions written down here.
Oh, and you go first then. Absolutely. It's easier if we can bounce off of each other because people submit their questions, and then I always have questions in my own head that I want to ask them, but because it's written, it's harder.
Okay, so during the bootcamp in Sofia, you spoke a lot about journaling, and I want you to explain to me again what are like the positive things of why you journal, when you should journal, and which benefits it has basically. So basically, why and when.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's different forms of journaling. You can do like gratitude journal. Like you can journal in a way that is to attain a result in your life, like to change your mindset. So if you want to think or behave in a certain way, you can take some time every day and just write down your thoughts as if it were that. So if you want to think in a more positive way, you write some really fucking positive things. If you want to be more grateful, you write some grateful things. You know, if you want to be more socially capable, it's basically affirmations. You're writing in a way that is describing yourself in the way that you want to be. And I've done a little bit of that in the past, and you can also do it with like limiting beliefs and things like that. There's methods for questioning yourself to the point where you sort of overcome these things because you unwind them in your own mind. So journaling can be a very good way to understand yourself and sort of map out your way of thinking and notice how you're thinking, because when you write things down you can read them back and you're like, is that really how I see things? And then change it by manipulating it in the way that you want it to be. But the way that I predominantly journal is I have a notepad next to my bed, just over there, and every night when I get into bed, the first thing I do is I write about the things that happened in my day and how I feel about it. And this achieves a couple of things. The first thing it achieves is I try to do more during the day because I want to have something to write about. Like if I just go into bed, I'm like, yeah, watch Netflix all day. I'm like, I feel shit about it, you know. So the next day, I'm like, I need to do better, and so I have things. It inspires me to do more. And the other thing is, it gets all of the shit out of my head before I go to sleep, and I sleep so much better because you get into bed. A lot of people, they've got all this stuff spinning around, and so by writing down what happened and how I feel about it, I don't need to hold on to it anymore. It's gone. And one of the practices that I keep is I try to, even if bad things have happened to me, I try to frame it in a positive way and say like how it's going to benefit. So something bad has happened. I don't just say this bad thing's happened and I feel awful. I say this bad thing's happened and I feel awful, but here's what I'm doing about it, and here's the positive result that's going to come as a result of that. And since I've been doing that, everything always works out. It's weird that, but everything always works out because I'm changing my mentality towards the situations in my life, and I figure shit out more because I tell myself I'm going to. And then at the end of it, I always find something to be thankful about. And I end pretty much every entry with thank you, because I'm trying to be grateful. I'm trying to appreciate the things that I have, even in darker times. Because I think, you know, when you're going to bed, you're spending, what, 8 hours in a subconscious state dreaming. And whether you're a spiritual person, you believe in manifestation or not, it's not good to put things into your head right before you enter that state that are going to be marinating for the next 8 hours. Whatever you put in there, if it's bad, you're going to feel bad when you wake up. Like if you put good things into your head before you go to sleep, you're going to wake up feeling good. And if you're spiritually minded, you're going to create good things in your life. So yeah, I always try to reframe things into positive, and I always go to bed feeling good as a result. Even if I have a really shit day, I always go to bed feeling good because I'm thankful for whatever I do have, you know. So that's how I use journaling, and I think that's so fucking, just the mental clarity that I have gained from that. I think the most important habits for just your own general sense of well-being are consistent and good quality sleep. Like you're getting enough sleep, you prepare beforehand to make sure that you're not just like watching phone in bed or whatever. Getting really good quality sleep, journaling, and when you wake up, not looking at your fucking phone. Like the most important things for just feeling good and having a good day and being productive, I think. And there's such simple things, but everybody's glued to their little fucking their opinion box when they want to look at things. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, waking up back in Sofia, hopping into the ice bed.
Yeah.
That were good times, man. I miss those days.
Yeah, I came back from New York, and I was using I mean, you know this, but I'm explaining it to people that are watching. I was using a big wheelie bin, big green like lidded trash bin for ice baths, and I had it out on the balcony. And when Anton was here, we'd like buy ice and dump it in. And I came back from New York after 8 months of leaving it out over the summer, and it was like I'd left the water in it as well, which wasn't good. So the whole thing was like disgusting and grimy and moldy and full of spiders and stuff. And it was a nightmare to clean and dispose of. But now I have one in my bathroom, which is good. I got a little tub there, and I make ice in this freezer here. So that's much better. I still try to do the ice baths every morning. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, I'm gonna start implementing now the journal again in my life. I'm gonna do it every day for the next 2 weeks. I'll report on the coaching calls how it went.
Yeah. After that point, it starts to become automatic. Like people, I think one of the barriers that gets people with habit forming is that they try to take on too much too quickly. So instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to journal for the next couple of weeks, they go, I'm going to journal and I'm going to meditate and I'm going to do ice baths. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do that. And they fail at fucking everything because it's like they're just taking on way too much. And they're like, this is going to be easy. It's not. You just feel motivated right now, you know? But just taking on one little thing like journaling, after a couple of weeks, you know, again, when I came back from New York, it was difficult. All my habits got fucked up, and it took me like a month or two to get back into things. But one of the first things I did was the journaling, because I think the sleeping is, and just it also just helps me track my life. Like I forget things so easily, but if I write down shit at the end of the day, and then at the end of the month, I'll like put it in digital form and burn the pages or whatever, so that I have a little bit of private. Like I don't want to die and people find my private thoughts, you know. And so I write it all down, but then I can keep a system where I mark all of the most important days and the most important things that happened. So at the end of the year or the end of 10 years or whatever, I can go back and see what are the most important things that happened to me in this time and how did I feel about it. And it's a really good way to like remember and notate your existence.
Learn about yourself as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important because we forget, and memories are fickle. Like if you write something down or record it, you have a much clearer idea of how it actually was than how you look at it in retrospect. There's so many things that happen in our life where we look back on them and we perceive them differently from how it actually was because of our own current state.
Yeah, especially for me right now. Like I'm terrible at taking pictures, and I'm traveling in Thailand for the next 6 months training and stuff. And so many things are happening to me right now that I probably already forgot, like from the past 2 months. So I think journaling right now is crucial for me, just to remember.
Yeah, because it's such like an important. Anton's out in Thailand right now practicing Muay Thai for the next 8 months, just being a fucking beast. I've seen those Instagram videos. You're a monster, my friend.
Thank you, bro.
I'd be terrified. Striking fear into the hearts of my enemies.
It's such a crazy sport, though. It's hard to explain because when I enter the ring and I look at the images and videos, like I look like a beast, but I'm at the same time I'm terrified myself because it's crazy to explain.
Do you think there is, not to like, maybe this is bullshit, do you think there is a correlation? Obviously I'm not a fighter, so I can't say, but is there a correlation between the fear there and like the social fear in terms of the feeling and pushing past it and how it actually affects you and what the mental state is?
What do you mean with social fear? Like, what are people thinking of me when I'm in the ring?
No. So no. It's like separating the two. So when you're having a fight, you're scared, right? Especially before the fight. I'm sure once you push past that, maybe there's a different feeling whilst you're doing it. How does that correlate to the experience of having a social fear and pushing past it and getting the result? And yeah, does one translate to the other? Do they help with each other?
I wouldn't say it did, because I used to have fights before, and I still couldn't pass over my social fear. But for me, physical fears, like there's no chance you can chicken out of a fight. Like you have to walk to the ring and you have to fight the guy. So you're already signed up for this. And in social fears, it's so easy to sneak out, and the voice in your head comes in.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's like pushing you, like yourself.
So in this metaphor, as your coach, I'm the guy that you're fighting.
Yeah.
Because I'm forcing you to be there.
Exactly. So yeah, it's different, and it's so primal as well, fighting somebody. It's weird when I think about it right now. Anyway, on to the next question, man.
Yeah, so just before that, I was going to say, I kind of led you into this question because either way I had a sort of, oh, that's interesting, let me give you a response. But I think that, so that basically means that the fears that we have, just the same as confidence, is contextual. So I get questions about confidence quite a lot. People are like, how do I gain confidence in a certain area? And I think that confidence comes from competence. So you can either have blind confidence, which some people have, and they get through situations and things just miraculously work out because they think it will, because they're kind of too stupid to be aware of the consequences, and so they just think, it's going to be fine, and that gives them confidence. But for the most part, confidence comes from doing a thing and developing an ability to the point where you trust that things are going to be okay. So you develop confidence in social situations by doing difficult, scary things and trusting in your own ability to navigate them. You develop confidence in your work by, over time, getting better at the thing that you're doing, and then you trust in your ability to do it. And I think fear works in sort of the same way. Like you can have, I think also like fear is the opposite of confidence. It's all, whatever area you're up. Like I've had clients that are like, I'm like a sales guy and I have to cold call people, and some people will be shit scared of doing that, or they're brilliant in their work, and maybe they even speak on stage, right? But the idea of going and talking to a girl, terrifying, right? Because it's down to the but I think once you start to develop confidence in some areas, and this is kind of why I asked you this, I'm not saying that necessarily the feeling of the fear is the same, but your own ability to know that the fear is not what is important in that moment and to push past it can be like carried over. So once you develop confidence in one area, and once you push past a certain fear in one area, you can start to apply that to other areas of your life. Maybe.
Definitely, because it's a very similar process. Like for example, in fighting, before you do a fight, you have to train, condition yourself, do lots of sparring, and it's in a way similar to what fighting is. So you can get used to that fear, and then the next fear is going into an actual fight. But in like approaching a girl, like that's why it's so difficult for me. It's like I have no proof that it's gonna work because I've never I never did it. So it's like a big leap, even though it's the same process. It's just like a bigger wall to conquer in the beginning.
I feel you.
But yeah,
With
having.
Sorry, and you go.
Go ahead. No, I was finished.
I was gonna say, so now, like, you've had a few experiences where it's like you traveled and did for people who don't know, Anton's a cliff diver as well as a professional kickboxer. He's like the most masculine man alive, basically. But so how would you I don't want to take credit for anything, but would you say that practicing social freedom and having gone through this journey helped you in any way to be at the point where you are now, where you go and do things like that, like the trips that you've had, and now you're in Thailand doing the kickboxing? Is there any element of the social freedom stuff that helped you get to that place?
Yeah, because like when you see all those things in my life, cliff diving, social freedom, getting better in dating, cliff diving and fighting, it's all around fear. I've been working on fear so much, and it's very similar, even though it's different fears, it's similar to each other. And learning to, even though there are different fears, like just learning how to get better with fear and dealing with fear and seeing it not as a bad thing has definitely helped me in my sports career as well.
Yeah.
And basically,
sorry, you go.
Because you often talk about this as well in the coaching calls, learning how to break down a fear. Like if for example, let's say you do like a backflip from 10 meter, you're terrified. Okay, can you do it again from 5 meter? Okay, then you do it from 5 meter, then from 7, 8, 9, and then 10 is all of a sudden way less scary because you broke down the fear. That's what I do all the time in fighting and cliff diving.
Yeah, so you come at it from a point where you understand what it is and how to push past it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember as well.
Yeah, it's still so scary.
Yeah, I remember as well before, like you were going through experiences like, oh well, I have to quit my job now, and they want me to stay, and it's like, I hope that it has helped to be like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm going to Thailand. I'm gonna kick some Thai boys' asses. You know.
If it wasn't has been for you in that conversation, I probably would have not been in Thailand, and I'm having the time of my life here. So.
No, come on, you still would have gone to Thailand. Surely it just would have been a bit more scary.
I don't know if because you really convinced me in a way, and no, not convinced me, but like the talk made it so clear for me that it was the right decision to make, regardless of the outcome, being it quitting my job or.
Oh, I'm glad.
But
you're in a good place. It's been so fantastic to see your progress over the years as well. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, it's sometimes surreal when I look back at the old days, from where I came from to right now. And I'm still not at the end goal, but
yeah, I think it's good to track the progress as well, though, because like you're saying, you look back and you're like, wow, I'm such a different person from even a couple of years ago. I think it's very easy to it's like the hedonic adaptation thing. You get very used to where you are now, and this is another benefit of the journaling and like keeping track of your life. If you don't have that reference to look back on, it's like not only do you not know how far you've improved, you don't necessarily know when you're slipping either, and so it's just good to track your progress in some way. Because a lot of people, it's like they achieve so much and then they look back and they don't feel like they've done anything because they've not measured it, Because it's just your life exactly. Now. You're like, yeah, I can just go talk to people and be socially free, and yeah, I can just take a trip to Thailand for 8 months and practice this and get girlfriends, and it's all no problem. Why would that be a problem? Because your mind, like your worldview has changed. But then looking back a couple of years ago, it's like, oh wow, I couldn't even speak to my fucking colleagues. What the fuck,
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to measure it. It's not as simple as strength training. For example, if you squat 40 kilograms last year and now 80 kilograms, you have progressed,
Yeah.
But the social, sometimes you fall back and then you have to get up again, and
yeah,
it's sometimes different to measure, because if you're at a low point in your life, or like not a low point, but you know what I mean. Then you could feel like, oh my god, I'm back where I was, but that's not the case at all. Like it's just like a small setback. And
absolutely. Yeah. Did you say you had another question before we go to the community one?
Yeah. So we've been talking about like just dating in general back in the days, and you advised me to do in the beginning, do lots of casual dating, which I totally agree on, and I'm still gonna practice casual dating. But I think my end goal in life is to have a serious relationship. And I was wondering, how will I know if it's quote unquote the one? And when is it the right moment to settle down?
Yeah. I'll answer those questions briefly, then I'll expand a bit. The one doesn't fucking exist. It's bullshit. I don't personally believe the one exists. I think there are loads of people out there that are compatible with you, and it's time to settle down when you find you find one of them, and B, you're in a place in your life where you can healthily sustain a relationship. The reason I recommend casual dating to people is not because I'm some like misogynist, relationships are bad and love is bullshit. Like I'm a very emotional, sappy guy, and even though I'm only doing casual dating at the moment and have been for the past few years, with some exceptions where I tried to get into something serious and it didn't quite work out, I believe that those things are very important, and that finding a partner, whatever that means to you, and setting up the relationship that you want, I think that's very important. Like people need other people, and I believe in love and growing old together and all of this stuff. But I think that when you're young, and especially when you've not had a lot of experience, it's very easy to get stuck into relationships just based on the way that you feel and not based on compatibility. So the most important things in a relationship, and the things that make a good relationship, are compatibility, connection, and chemistry. And chemistry is ineffable. It's this thing that just happens. It's the chemical bond between. It's literally chemistry a lot of the time. It's the pheromonal bond between the two of you. It's if you're around someone, you're like, this just fucking works. That's the chemistry. The compatibility is how well do the two of you work together and everything just doesn't fall apart, right? How well can you work together in harmony, and how conducive are your lifestyles and your personalities and the way that you handle conflict? Like, are you sexually compatible? Do you argue in the same way? Do you have the same goals? Like these sorts of things. Do you want the same things from a relationship? That's all markers of compatibility. And connection is something that you learn to do. The connection is the extent to which you understand each other, and you have these like shared emotional experiences, and empathy basically is what creates connection between two people. So if you have all of these things very strongly in a relationship and you can maintain them, it's going to be a good relationship. The main problem that people have is they rely far too much on chemistry and not enough on compatibility and connection. So they have amazing chemistry and the sex is great, and it's like this fiery, passionate relationship that ends up burning out because there's nothing propping it up besides that, and eventually the chemistry wanes for a while. And I think people do this partly because they don't really, they're just taking what they can get. They don't really believe that they can have the things that they want, or they don't know how to get it. They don't know if it even exists, and they're scared. Like, people don't want to be alone, right? And when we're alone, we feel maybe there's something wrong with me, and so they latch onto other people, and they create sort of slightly what's the word, codependent relationships where they're filling a hole. Basically, they're not happy alone, they need someone in their life. And so how most people do relationships is they just do serial monogamy again and again and again until either they find the perfect person and they get lucky, or they realize they're getting too old to continue doing this and they settle, or they just find a person early on and they're like, I'm just gonna make this work no matter what, I don't fuck being single, man, and they just hold on for dear life, right? And I think a much better way of doing it is to uncover all of your internal shit that's making you feel like you're not worthy of a healthy, serious relationship. Realize that life is, even though it's very short, it's also very long, and you do have time, right? But when you're young, start out by fixing all of your shit and getting into social situations and meeting people and having friends and girlfriends and all of this stuff, and getting to the point where you've do healthy casual dating in a healthy way. Meet people and be entirely honest about what you're doing and why, and don't get into a relationship unless you're absolutely fucking certain, until you have figured out what compatibility actually means for you. What do you want? How do you handle things? What do you need from a relationship? Like, what's their communications? And you basically build a map in your head of who that person would be, right? And over this time of doing the healthy casual dating thing, which is one of the things that I teach, you gain all of the necessary experiences, not only to know what you want, but in order to hold a relationship together properly. And then so eventually you find someone, you're like, okay, this is the right person, and you lock it the fuck down. Or maybe you have an open relationship. It's entirely up to, a relationship is just what two people agree it is at the end of the day. But whatever you want, you find a person that wants the same things, or you find people that want the same things, and you create that for yourself, and you've built the necessary skills and abilities to do so. The problem is people don't get enough experience, and the feelings get involved, and they're not good at, like, emotional intelligence takes a back step and people think, oh, well, just because I like this person, I should lock it the fuck down early. Like, I think you shouldn't, even if you think that someone is the one, quote unquote, you shouldn't get into a serious relationship with them for at least 6 months of dating, because you don't know that person, right? It's just a feeling. And I'm not saying that feeling isn't real. I do believe in love and romance and all of this stuff. But if you're just basing a relationship on that, it's bad. Spend 6 months with them, date them, date them without locking anything down. And then if it's still going well at that point, and you really know who they are, and you really know that it's going to work, which again you get from experience and you get from figuring that shit out over time, then lock it the fuck down and have a happy life. Like the people that have the happiest relationships, I've seen two kinds of I can think of two very specific examples, and one of them is a couple that met when they were like 16 in high school and stayed together their entire life, and they're the only people that they've ever dated, and they got really fucking lucky because they're like peas in a pod. They're so compatible, but they also started dating at such a young age that they kind of molded with each other and became this homogenous thing, and they're inseparable, and it's beautiful, and they're like in their 60s now, right? And they're gonna grow old together. It's wonderful. It's very romantic. For most people, that you just don't get that lucky, right? So for most people, and the other example is this guy that dated a shitload of people and then found his wife and fucking locked it down because he's like, wow, you tick every box, right? And it is possible. There's a lid out there for every pot. You can find someone that ticks every box, or at least that ticks every box that matters to you. Like, there's always going to be some sort of compromise in relationship, but the less compromise there is, the better. You can find people that are 90% of the way there, and that 10% is shit that you don't really care about, right? It's never good if you're like, yeah, the relationship's, it's good half the time, but then we have these arguments, and she's a fucking bitch, and I don't like the way she breathes at night. Like, why are you doing this to yourself, And most of the time it's because they don't believe that they can do better. And so... yeah, my recommendation is to go through that process and really figure it out. And that's part of what I teach. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, also, like, I heard you talk in your previous coaching call, and you said something that struck me, and I would like to that you would like speak a bit more about this.
Okay.
As people often focus on finding a good partner, but they don't know how to be a good partner themselves.
Yeah, I mean, so
do you mean this in the sense of they are looking for people who are not compatible, or do they lack skills in a certain area of their dating life?
Both. Just before I go into that, I'm going to add something else to what I was saying. Just something else came up. There is a line between, like, there's this mentality. I keep seeing content recently of like these like alpha male TikTokers and like the what's it, like Fresh and Fit podcasts and shit like that. I see clips of these kinds of things where people are like, oh, the women, when they date a bunch of different people, they can't get into a serious relationship. And this sort of ties into what you just asked, but it's like they can't get into a serious relationship, like they're less capable of locking it down with a guy. And that is partly true, and I don't think it's just women. I think it's men as well. Like, my ability to fall for somebody and get into something serious has diminished as I've dated a shitload of people, right? Like, I've been with a lot of people, and it's gotten to the point where my standards are so fucking high that it's very rare that somebody comes along where I would even want a serious relationship. And you could view that as a bad thing and be like, well, I'm broken inside and I've ruined my sense of romance. And I used to think a little bit like that myself. I was worried because it's like I dated all these people, and then I was meeting people and I was like, nah, like, you're just not good enough, right? There is a line, but then I realized, with someone I met a couple of years ago, it didn't work out, but I had this experience where I met someone that ticked all of the boxes and was like, wow, I could pursue a serious relationship and lock it down and have spend the rest of my life with this person, essentially. And so that dispelled that myth in my head. I think what's really happening is you're just getting more experience and you're realizing that most people aren't. It's not even like I say good enough. It doesn't mean that I'm better than them. It just means the compatibility isn't 100% there. But at the same time, there is a line between the grass is greener on the other side and the grass is greener where you water it, right? So if you always have that mentality that there's someone else out there for you, you can just go date someone else, that's a really serious fucking problem. If your mentality is, I'm going to get to the point where I can find a really good person and then we'll start building something together. Like, the grass is greener where you water it, but you should start with healthy foundations. You should start with fertile soil and good roots and then take care of that lawn, and then you'll have a beautiful relationship. But at some point, you do have to settle. You do have to be like, well, okay, well, this is what I want. Unless you want to live your whole life being a bachelor and fucking around. But as someone who's done a lot of that, it's not nearly as fulfilling as you think it is. And really, it's once you've done the casual dating thing to the point where you can get what you want, it's really just about finding that at that point, which is, I mean, you have the skills in that. Like, I maybe it's going to come along when I'm 40, maybe it's going to come along next year, but I'm going to know when it comes along, and I'm going to be able to lock it down and be capable of maintaining it. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question that you asked after that? It was about people. Oh yeah. So yeah, on you go. It's just repeat it very briefly.
People focus on finding an amazing partner, but how can they themselves be a good partner?
Yeah. So I think what I said originally was people are very focused on finding a good partner and not necessarily being a good partner.
Yeah.
And it depends what you have to like. I think this is especially true of men with money and power and women with very good looks. They use the like. It's not their fault I mean, it's not their fault that that's the thing that attracts other people to them. But if you never have to work for the affection and attention of other people, it can create an environment where you take it for advantage, and you're just a shitty fucking person with a quality that people like. It's like you're really good looking and you spend your whole life being really good looking, male or female. You can get to the point where everything's just given to you your whole life, and you've never had to become a better person because people give you slack because you have something that they want, right? And this is also another reason why I think people should date a lot is it gives everybody the necessary experience, and then there's going to be like it gets to the point where all of these people, like the rich guys with no fucking personality and the attractive women with no fucking personality, get to the point where like, well, why does nobody want me anymore? Like, it's the simp's fault, right? It's everybody else's fault for catering to that. But a lot of people have this idea. They're like, oh yeah, I want this person that does this and does it and has this. And it's like, what are you bringing to the table at the same time? And I've had this with clients before where it's like I guarantee them, I'm like, I can get you a girlfriend if that's what you want. Yeah, no problem. I can get you 3 if that's what you want. I can get you those people. But you have to be aware of the compatibility aspect. It's like you might not be capable of getting the thing that you want if that's not in alignment with who you are. It's like if you want to be rich, you need to be in alignment with being rich. If you want to have a beautiful girlfriend with X qualities, you need to be in alignment with that. It's like I had a guy that was he was like this very insecure guy. He didn't go out partying in the club and he slept early. He liked to read books and shit like that. He was like, oh, I like the kind of girls that dance and go to clubs and like dress slutty and like the nightclub girls. I'm like, but you're not that kind of person. Right? I'm not saying that couldn't work. You may find someone like that has other elements of compatibility that mold with you, but it's very unlikely, right? The more things you have in common, the more things you're likely to have in common. So the thing that I said to him is like, well, either you're going to need to completely change yourself to the point where that is you, and then you'll start attracting those kinds of people, or like what elements of that do you actually want? Like, is it and this is kind of going off topic, but I think it's important. It's like, do you actually want that girl because of that lifestyle, or do you want it because you've seen attractive women in that and you feel bad that you can't get that, and so you've made that your goal, right? And there's a very important distinction there. It's like, what qualities of that do you actually want? Do you want someone that's physically attractive? Because that's easy, right? You want someone that's physically attractive. Do you actually want someone that's going to bars and clubs and getting slutty and getting hit on by other men? Because I don't think you do. Some people do want that. Some people like their women to get a lot of attention, or they go to sex clubs together and they like share her with other people, and that's part of the appeal, right? But for most people, that's not what they want, and that makes them go, oh no. And when I described this to him, he was like, oh no. And I'm like, well, it's right. So why do you have this image in your head? It's like, it's not actually what you want. And so part of that goes back to the actually going through the process and figuring out what you like and don't like and dating a bunch of people. But going back to the question, it's like all of these qualities that you think that you want, are you actually in alignment with them? You know? And the thing I said to that guy was, either you're going to keep working to yourself and dating people that aren't fully in alignment, so you just do like the casual dating thing and you don't get the partner yet, which is fine. You're going to feel a bit lonely, but you're getting most of your needs met, so it's fine. And then you get to the point where you've worked on yourself enough that you can attract the top level person that is the person that you want. Or you're going to meet someone that's on your level right now that's highly compatible with you, and you're going to go there together because you are a person that wants to improve. So you're more likely to meet and attract people that also want to improve. So you'll find the nerdy, socially awkward girl that likes to read and chill at home at night, and you'll both grow together. And he was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah. So the things that you want, start questioning, is that actually what I want? Am I in alignment with that? And what, why do I want that, and what can I do to be worthy of that thing? And worth is a subjective thing. You're worthy of whatever you get, but what can I do to be in alignment with that thing so that I attract it, is a better way of putting it. Does that answer the question?
It does. So basically, Ben, you're saying that I have to find like a beast of a girlfriend that fucks up people in the ring and jumps big cliffs.
Not necessarily, but if that's what you want, like you have some of those qualities. Maybe you want the big muscle girl.
Nah, that wouldn't have been my type.
No, but for you, I
All
think you
jokes
want
aside,
someone that's physically active and community. Like
yeah,
it
sure.
doesn't have to be every area of your life. Like you're a gym guy that fights. You don't need to find. And I know you know this. I'm just explaining for watchers. It's like you don't need to be the person. You don't need to find a person that's a gym girl that fights. But like you probably want someone that's physically active and takes care of themselves. And also, if you're the kind of person that's out fucking boxing in the ring, you probably want the girl that's at the end of the day that's there with the towel going, "You did great, honey," and dabbing your fucking scars and stuff. You know. So you want someone that fits in. Like compatibility doesn't necessarily mean we are the same. It means that we fit together. You know, we are conducive to creating something good for both of us. It fits. You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
I think
thank you for the answer.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. I do have some questions from the community, but I'll answer them next week. We did the hour. Thank you very much for tuning in. Anybody that's watching this, thank you, Anton, for coming. If you want to be on a future stream, like if you want to call in like Anton has and have your questions answered in a more personal format where we can actually talk, and I think this is better than the text because it's like you can actually understand each other better. It's a conversation rather than just a one-sided thing, which I prefer. So if you want to call in, again, it's discord.gg/self-improvement. Maybe if you're watching this years in the future, that link's changed, but that's what it is right now. There is a link in the description below. There are some posts that are available for free. You can go and read through them. Not everything is paid. There's some free stuff there. If you want to enter the questions right now, that is open to everybody. It's not just the members. So you can go in, you can ask your questions, get them answered live on the stream. I also offer a free coaching call, a one-on-one coaching call for anybody that wants it, so you can decide if we're a good fit, if we want to work together, what kind of service you want, essentially what your goals are, what problems you want to fix. And yeah, I'll be back next week. There will be a video coming out maybe this week, maybe next, about pickup. It's called The Problem with Pickup, and I'm basically breaking down everything that's wrong with that ideology and why it fucks with people and the better alternative. Because it's okay to approach people and it's okay to try and get yourself a girlfriend and all this stuff, but most of the mainstream advice out there is very insidious and terrible. Anton, is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
I had all my questions answered, so thank you for the informative talk.
No worries.